that kind of kicked off this journey, if you will, to present, where I knew that there was more. I knew that the way that I wanted to scale is possible. Let's read this book and see how can I understand my lineage, my family, that would help to better put some clarity around me wanting to be able to progress in business to higher levels, being quiet and being still and being reflective and meditative to be able to understand, how does God actually see you? There's a difference between reading a book and a book reading you. This episode, every book that I mention is one that found me in just the right place at just the right moment and shifted the way that I think. In 2021, I had the idea for She Built Success, but it didn't look like what it looks like now. By the time 2023 came around and I had my company, we were almost 10 years in business at that time. There was something that I wanted to do, shift, change. I felt it. It was the beginnings of a shift. And I came across a book called The Wealthy Consultant by Taylor Welch. And inside that book, it talks about frameworks and structures of scaling a business, one that's not centered around you, but one that allows you to scale and allows you to scale, I'm not going to say quickly, but with the right frameworks in place. And I actually read that book, I say darko 30, so it was like, I'm not even kidding. It was like 3:00 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. So I read the book, and I'm sure it came in my feed or something. And so I just decided to purchase it. But I read the book, and in one, like from 3 to 6, literally one sitting, I read it, and I was excited. Like there were so many different concepts, and I'm a frameworks girl, so I was definitely loving the fact that there was frameworks and structure in the book itself. But things that just made sense to me that I was not always able to articulate, but I knew that, yes, this is it. And so that kind of kicked off this journey, if you will, to present, where I knew that there was more. I knew that the way that I wanted to scale is possible. And I knew that there was a framework and a structure that I could follow to do it. Now, that being stated, things don't come without challenges, right? So 2023 was when I read The Wealthy Consultant. 2021 was when I had the idea for the podcast, but they didn't necessarily come together. And my company was still in the position where it was, where I was doing a lot of the implementation. And so what ended up happening was by the time we got to 2025, a few things. I was at a point where I was just tired. I was burnt out. A lot of things happened. I've talked about it previously, where things in administration shifted. A lot of our contract work, which is in government contracting, pipeline was starting to dry up. And it just felt very telling. And it took me back to 2021, 22, 23, when I was really just starting to feel the beginnings of that something needs to change. Something needs to be done differently. And so I ended up in 2025, I guess the end of 2024, the 2025 goal was to read the Bible chronologically. Now, I read my Bible, but I've never read it chronologically. And so I followed this Bible study, it's a Bible study on the Bible app where you could read it chronologically. And this was the first time that I've read it end to end chronologically within the 2025 calendar year. And inside of it, for me, I was reading different stories and understanding, and there's the normal story. I won't say normal, but the more popular stories that you hear, like Noah's Ark. And for me, it was the minor characters characters, probably not the best word, but the minor people in the Bible that I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was, that person did that, or, small little steps within. And so for me, a lot of the stories and a lot of the lessons that I was learning in that, there were some parallels going on in my life and in business. And I was like, okay, I could see that, or I understand that. And I've talked about in prior episodes where there was a season where I was actually studying Elijah. And when I came back up to that story, I've read Elijah a number of times. And when I came back up to that story, I was like, okay. And even then, this is probably like my 10th time reading it at that point. There were elements of it that I was like, okay, I see this, I see that. And so for me in 2025, reading the Bible chronologically helped me to, I'm going to say reset how I'm viewing or how I'm going through life and how I'm building my business and the what next, right? That kind of teed up the what next. And it also, I've talked about it in a prior episode, which kind of segues into it. I dream a lot, like a lot, literally, not just, here when I'm awake, but I'm talking about when I'm asleep. I literally dream a lot. And I'm like, I came across or read this book called The Power of Your Dreams by Stephanie E.K. Okafor. And I talked about that season 3, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I talked about the book and how it impacted me, but I believe that book also planted the seed of me wanting to better understand my dreams, which brings me to the next book that I came across, which was The Divinity Code, and it's by Thompson and Beale. And it's a book that's biblically based that helps you to understand and interpret your dreams, obviously under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. I'm not out here just randomly making up stuff. It really is. I just wanted to better understand based on the types of dreams that I have, like what that looks like. So the Divinity Code is another one. Now, I came across the Divinity Code. Well, I didn't come across it, but it was recommended by another author that I'm going to talk about, who is Isi Igenegba. And she's written a number of books, but the teaching that I actually was listening to, she had mentioned the Divinity Code. But I've read, let's see, From Here to There. I've read the fasting book. It's like a light blue color book. I'll get the actual title. But the book that I want to talk about right now is Bloodlines. And she has a whole teaching on it on YouTube, but Bloodlines, the book and the workbook. So I have the book here. I have the workbook back at my desk, but Bloodlines was, I was interested in wanting to know. So in business, I felt like I would always get to a point and then it would feel like a pause or like a stick. Like I would see progress. I would make progress. There would be some growth, but then to go to what I would want to be that next level, what I would see as that next level wasn't happening. So I'm like, again, kind of, this is through trial. So not through trial, but through this journey of the Bible in a year, and then the power of your dreams, and then the getting into living fearlessly in Bloodlines. I guess I should also mention, plugging another podcast, but I did listen to, so Taylor Welch has a podcast called The Deep End, and that's where I came across some of these authors. Actually, yeah, Jamie Winship, I came across him that way. Isi I've heard about in other circles, but she was also on this podcast. But nevertheless, there's just been this whole common thread of just wanting to understand bloodlines in particular, wanting to understand, is there something beyond me that maybe my lineage that was preventing me from moving to that next level, that next rung, that next progression. And it felt like no matter which path or avenue I went in business, it was almost like an invisible ceiling. And it wasn't a limiting belief. I am a very driven person. So it's not that I'm not willing to put in the work. It's not that I don't have a plan towards progress. It just always felt like a ceiling was there. And so I was like, well, let's read this book and see, how can I understand my lineage, my family, extended family, and what impacts may be there or not that would help to better put some clarity around me wanting to be able to progress in business to higher levels. And so for me, it was definitely all of this is deeply personal, obviously, and sharing it here is something that I actually debated how deep I wanted to go. And not because I don't want to share, but because it is really, truly a personal journey. And so Bloodlines, for me, the impact there was really just understanding the nuances of family and what is in the blood, in the nefesh, as it said in the Old Testament, and really understanding, why it felt like for me there was a ceiling, even though I know I'm a very driven person. And so there was a lot of clarity that came out of Bloodlines as a book for me. The other book, Living Fearlessly by Jamie Winship. So I will admit, when I heard the title, I'm like, I don't live in fear. Like it was kind of, I was like, but because I heard him speaking, I was like, okay, well, let me just give the book a try, give it a read. And it really is about finding your identity. So I know finding your identity in God, like how does God see you? Like I had my own understanding of, what I felt I was good at and how I came across and the types of gifts that I had. But at the end of the book, or for me, at the end of reading it, it really, the book really drilled into you or dug into how does God actually see you? Like I may say one thing about myself, but God sees me in a different way. And it's like being quiet and being still and being reflective and meditative to be able to understand how God is actually seeing you. as your identity in Christ. And so for me, this is another book. And so Living Fearless, I don't think I said when I read it. I read the book in 2025, and I've since read it again. So for this year as well. But yeah, so these are my 5 books. I know I've sprinkled in some additional bonus ones, but like my 5 primary books that have really shaped where I'm at. And for me, the journey to just this next in business, this next in life, I've found that the common thread in all of it is not necessarily, how can I, Claudia, do better, but it is how can I holistically bring my faith, my business, my life to the forefront and still be a light that represents all of how God sees me. And so for me, it's been very eye-opening in a good way. It's been a deeper journey. It's been a very personal journey, one that I'm grateful that I've been on, that I've been able to go through, that I am still going through, I'm still growing from. So it's just been really cool. So to me, like reading, and I will say this before, like in the past, my books have been heavy business. I know Taylor's book this particular one is a more business-based book, but my books have been heavy business. Like if you look at my library, it's like a lot of business, but over the years, it's transitioned into more faith-based books but like faith-based books with an outcome. Like I'm very much a, I like to see fruit, results, progress. You have, fictional books that you read for fun, yes. But for me, it's very like I have goals that I would like to attain. I have things and visions and dreams and, there's all these things. And to me, my collection, my repertoire now has been a lot more faith-based. All that to say, pick a book. What book has changed how you think or changed how you perceive something? Or just changed you as a person? Drop it in the comments and let me know. I'm actually curious. I've given you my top 5 and some change. But for me, this journey has been one that, like I said, has been very fulfilling and rewarding, and I'm thankful for it. And I just continue to encourage you, Bold Move Bestie, to find the elements and pieces of life that bring you joy, bring you happiness, and take the time to read. If you don't like reading physical books, that's all good. You can read digital books. I actually read digital. I buy physical typically when the digital one, I'm just like, yo, this is really, really good. Then I'll go buy the physical. So I have digital versions of all of this, but take the time to read, develop yourself, cultivate a rhythm that allows you to continue to progress. All right, Bold Move Besties, I will catch you on the next episode of She Built Success. Bye.